Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cold Hard Truth Podcast. I'm Anish Gupta.
I'm Jack Smith.
I'm Shrikar Gendran.
So today we are going to be switching it up a little bit. Obviously, you guys do know what's coming up on Monday. Arguably the most anticipated NFL game in a while. Chiefs-Ravens. Monday night, stage is bright. And we do know what happened last time we saw a pivotal, Monday night matchup from the Chiefs. That 54-51 game was insane. Obviously, I'm referring to the Rams-Chiefs back in 2018. But again, it was a wonder to watch. So I'm going to let Jack and Shrikar kind of touch on this game. I mean, what are you looking for in this game?
First off, what a night to be a defender. Think about this. Because on one side, you got the best QB in football in Mahomes. The other side, you have the reigning MVP in Jackson. And on either side of that, these defenders are going to be tasked with a hunch. Because you look at not only the quarterbacks, but just the weapons that these guys are going to have to face, and they're going to have to slow down. You got two of the game's top four tight ends in Kelsey and Andrews. You got two burners in Hill and Hollywood Brown. And then you also got some great depth with Sammy Watkins, McCole Hardman, and for the Ravens, Miles Boykin, Willie Snead. And they both got great running games because the Ravens have that great rushing attack that they're trying to build on from last season. And then the Chiefs have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's been looking good so far. I think if I had to give just a little insight, I'd say the Ravens should be better suited to stop the Chiefs than the other way around because Peters and Humphrey is one of the best cornerback duos in the NFL, if not the best. And I think they're going to match up against the Chiefs receivers well. But, Tavon Young in the slot going down with an ACL injury, that's tough. But Jimmy Smith was kept by the team this offseason. He can help fill the shoes there. I also have some genuine concern in regards to how the Ravens deal with Travis Kelce, because in the last two meetings, Kelce's had great games. And the Ravens, they've kind of shaken it up a bit. They have some different options for covering Kelce because, of course, you have Patrick Queen, Malik Harrison, LJ Fort. But really, this group has struggled with tight ends this season because you look back at week one, and Njoku, Hooper, and Bryan all had good games. And then Houston with Akins and Fells had good games as well. And now you're looking ahead, you got Travis Kelce on the slate. So I think this is one of my top matchups to watch this Monday night because if the Ravens contain Kelce, I think they should emerge victorious.
Yeah, I think that the way they handle Kelce will be interesting. But I feel like week one they went up against a great receiver duo, which means both cornerbacks were occupied with Landry and Beckham, and the Texans wide receivers are no joke. And I think they might be a better group overall than the Chiefs receivers. I think Hill's obviously the marquee option for the Chiefs. But, Sammy Watkins is inconsistent for really the entire year. He obviously
Also
plays
injured,
well in week one and injured. Hardman's had a rough couple of weeks. They've got a top-of-the-line option in Hill, but Kelsey's their second best option. He's probably their best option, to be completely honest, especially it's kind of looking like that this year. And I think that Marlon Humphrey might be physical enough to match up with Kelce. Maybe not every play, but certain plays. And since, I think they'll put Peters on Hill, I think that'll work out really well. And then, Humphrey's not occupied by a great receiving option. So I think he can flex over, cover Kelce a little bit. But, just to touch on this game in general, these are the two best teams in the NFL. These are possibly the two best rosters in the NFL. These are two of the best coached teams in the NFL. And this is what everyone thinks is going to be the AFC Championship game. We get it already here in week 3. So,
and don't forget, two of the best kickers in the NFL. Sorry, I just
the two best kickers in the NFL. The two
Bucker,
best kickers in the NFL.
Thank you for fantasy points, my guy.
But
appreciate it.
Great offensive lines. The Chiefs I think are better passing the ball, much better, and the Ravens are better running the ball, which is why it's the two different styles of offense that we get to see in this game are awesome. I think the Chiefs, like you said, Shrikar, are not as well suited to defend the Ravens as the Ravens are to defend the Chiefs, especially with, I think, a couple of their key run stuffers out with injury. And so the Ravens, absolutely volatile running attack, and the Chiefs, just they can pass the ball over anyone. So the fact that we get to see that against these corners and this secondary, and the fact that we get to see, Chris Jones try and stop the run against Baltimore, and the Chiefs contain Lamar Jackson in general, this is going to be, I think it's going to be an amazing game.
Mm-hmm.
Look, you guys, we just had an episode, maybe a month or two ago, Jack and I discussing these teams for the future. And we're going to get to see the first matchup of that. Obviously, I'm on the Chiefs side. Jack was on the Ravens side. And you see that with our picks. If you watched it, I took the Chiefs and he took the Ravens. I think Shrikar and Jack both explained it great, kind of the marquee matchups we're seeing. Also, I just wanted to touch on your Humphrey take on potentially Kelsey. I want to see a little bit of what Ramsey did to Gronk in the 2017 AFC Championship game. I want to see some similarities to that. And, I've heard this question, and maybe you guys can answer it. I've seen it in, media outlets such as Fox and ESPN. If the Chiefs win this, right, Mahomes will be 3-0 against Lamar Jackson. Is this still considered a rivalry?
Nope. No, I'd say no. And I said this earlier because at that point, it's just domination by Mahomes. So this whole idea of the Ravens and Chiefs being a premier rivalry going forward, I'm just not going to buy it at that point, because when a rivalry becomes one-sided, it's tough to really call it a rivalry anymore. That's what happened with the Seahawks and the Niners.
Michigan and Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You like to bring it up.
Had to pander to Anish a little bit right there.
But the Seahawks dominated the Niners for God knows how long, to the point where we stopped calling it a rivalry. Maybe
I'll ask you this, though. I want to ask you
yes.
a quick corner, because I do want to. So Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, right?
Sure.
Peyton Manning is 3-0 against Tom Brady in the last 3 AFC Championship games that they've played. Yet it's still a rivalry.
What's the overall?
Overall, it's 3-1, Peyton Manning to Tom Brady. They've played in 4 AFC Championship games against each other, and Peyton Manning is 3-1.
AFC Championships aside, just total.
Huh?
Just like
total
regular season
matchups?
Included. No.
Playoff matchups, I think it's only 4. I don't think they've played.
Anish, regular season and playoffs.
Oh, they've had a lot. I don't know the exact number, but I'm sure it's in the 20s.
But is it like close?
Huh?
But is it like close?
Yeah, it is. But
Okay.
Here's what I'll say, though. I think it's too early to even call it a rivalry yet between the Chiefs and the Ravens.
I can agree with
Lamar
that.
Jackson, they will always be compared to each other.
Exactly.
But it's too early to call it a rivalry between the Chiefs and the Ravens until we see them match up in a big game.
But even then, if they go up 3-0, I mean, I can't definitively say it's a rivalry.
You know how I feel. Regular season doesn't matter. I don't care if the Ravens win this game. You have to show it to me when it matters most. I don't care. If the Ravens win this game and the Chiefs still go 12-4, oh well.
It just didn't matter. Yeah.
It was a good win, but if the Chiefs win it in the playoffs, though, which game are we going to look back on and say, okay, that was more important, right? So I think it's too early to even call it a rivalry between these two teams, but they're obviously fighting with each other for the top spot in the AFC. And I've seen a lot of people after week 2 switch their power rankings from the Chiefs to the Ravens. They may put the Ravens up just because, again, they handled the Texans well. Apparently the Chiefs struggled against the Chargers. I'm here to say this right now, and Jack can clip this. The Chiefs, in my opinion, are the unanimous first, best team in the AFC. And Patrick Mahomes right now is the best quarterback in the NFL, and it is still not close. I'm sorry.
I agree with the latter part of your statement. Mahomes is the best QB in the NFL.
But do you agree with the part where it's not close?
Well, I think it's just we got to wait for this matchup. I just can't. I put the Ravens first because based on what we've seen so far, the Ravens have looked pretty much more dominant than the Chiefs. And they've looked like they had more momentum than the Chiefs.
But
so really, that's why I had to put them first.
The Ravens have looked
no
more
disrespect to the Chiefs,
if they can't beat the Chiefs, I mean, and even if they do.
If the Chiefs beat the Ravens, then they're going to be the unanimous number 1.
If the Ravens
Obviously.
do, I don't want to hear it as a unanimous number 1, but I will put them number 1 in the power rankings, I guess, for the regular season. I will say that. But again, back to my whole Mahomes take not being close. Russell Wilson has been tremendous. I think he will get the MVP. As much as, I'm looking terrible with my Carson Wentz take, I did say Russell Wilson should be the favorite, so hopefully that pans out. But yeah, Russell Wilson has looked tremendous. But again, I'm going with the quarterback who just won a Super Bowl, not 11 games last year and barely beat Philly by 8 points. I'm going with the guy who won a Super Bowl last year and came down from behind 10 the last 3 playoff games. But enough talking about last year. I'm going to focus on at least this game. Key matchup I want to see is just Mahomeboy versus this Ravens defense. I think this Ravens defense really has no flaws. And obviously, I saw the entire Browns-Ravens game in real time. They look tremendous. I mean, this Ravens defense. Calais Campbell, again, I was skeptical about how he would do this year, especially last year. He'd had a down year. It looks tremendous. He's great in pass coverage, too. Just, he's 6'8", so he's able to get his hand up, right, and deflect passes. And I've seen that, more like twice or thrice in the first half against the Browns. So I'm sure he did that against the Texans. I'd have to look it up. But he's, again, it's a towering presence. We got to acknowledge that. So on the defensive line, Patrick Queen their top 2 picks have already made an astounding impact on the team. I'm like, what? Patrick Queen literally had a forced fumble in his first game. And it was a great tackle too on Nick Chubb, who's a top 5 running back. So the Ravens defense has looked really good, but they haven't played my homeboy. Like, that's all. They played Baker and they played Deshaun Watson. 2, Baker's and Deshaun Watson's good, but he's not my homeboy. So we got to see how they do. And both of us remember last time, right? Last time where my homeboy was stuck in a little bit of a situation, 4th and 9. This was in 2018. One of the best throws I've ever seen on 4th down. Like, that was crazy to Tyreek Hill. But I'll ask you guys maybe another question to, pat off that. Do you guys think that Lamar Jackson is the 3rd best quarterback in the league? Right? No question.
Yeah.
I think before I answer that question, I want to point out how you just casually threw in a thrice right there. I appreciate that right
thrice.
there. Thrice. But,
yeah.
I think, like you say, I think you said Mahomes is not close, the number 1 quarterback in the league. I think it's close. I think that you can't just deny Russ like that. And I think this Russ is a different quarterback than what we saw last year. A different quarterback.
I think he's a clear too. And that's nothing wrong with that. And he can say, and when I heard him say he's the best without a doubt, totally fine, because as a player, I would say that too. Mm-hmm. So totally fine with him saying that. But
especially if you're already top 2.
But I think this Russ is a Russ we've never seen before. The Russ that gets to throw the ball. So the jury's still out on that, on whether it's not close with Mahomes at 1. I don't know who I can put over Lamar right now. I was not a big Lamar fan going in.
Breeze, maybe.
I wasn't on the Lamar hype train after week 1. Definitely not Breeze.
Yeah.
It's right now. I mean,
put him over
right now,
Rodgers maybe, but no. Because here's the thing. I wanted to touch on Lamar like after you said that, because I think you made a good point. Lamar is taking those Mahomeboy type steps as a passer too. I think people are missing that. 20 of 25 his first game looked really good. He doesn't have an interception yet. We saw it last year too. Not a big turnover guy. And you wouldn't expect that from a running quarterback.
He does what he needs to do every game. And it's like, okay, great. If you don't want him to pass the ball, let the Ravens run 200 yards on you.
And even then, in that week 1 game, the running game was not working. And he proved that he can beat you through the air too. He's just that versatile, man.
Yeah.
I think Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. I think that Lamar is the hardest game plan in the entire league. The hardest to game plan against in the entire league.
Because I think both of them make plays where it's just like, how did he do that?
But it's that, but also what they do for their offense.
Because I don't remember that 3rd and 20 against the Chargers. He ran for 22 yards. My homeboy. He's not Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Like that. So I agree with you. I think these 2 quarterbacks are definitely the most electrifying. Russell Wilson's pretty electrifying with his deep ball throws, but like these 2, right, especially with how young they are. And with Russell Wilson, I know this whole let Russ cook thing is being a thing, but he's also, had the most touchdown passes the last 3 years by a lot.
But he could have had more is what people are saying.
Yeah, he could have had more.
It's like touchdowns, like, because they would run the ball more than most teams on first and second down, and then
that's
I know
what I'm saying,
it worked.
Though. It worked.
It worked, but eventually it wouldn't. And so here's what I think. Going back to Lamar, I think he's way more multidimensional than Mahomes is, and I think the Ravens just offensive attack in general is more multidimensional. And so that's why I'm saying he's the hardest game plan in the league, because you're a defensive coordinator. You have to worry about him, throwing 4 touchdowns on you like he did, I think, against the Rams in primetime. Or you worry about, them running the ball literally
Through
down
5,
your throat
actually,
all
I
game.
think.
5, that's even crazier. And you got to worry about him throwing that deep touchdown, or, you're the Bengals and he's going to spin his way to the end zone for 70 yards.
Yeah, we had to shout out that Bengals pick one more time. That was the same game.
He's kind of crushing in picks this year. He's doing well, still better than 500. Well. So we're moving on from the slander. We're moving on from the slander. By the way, you guys just missed out. You guys voted on everything on our Instagram, but make sure to go follow us on Instagram down in the description so you can vote next week on picks. You guys are doing pretty well, and got a lot of picks differing from us this week. So make sure to tune back in to our picks next week.
Well, mostly agreeing with me, so you guys are looking good on those.
But they're more multidimensional in the Chiefs, which is why I think they're the hardest game plan in the league. And it's going to be crazy. And I don't know if this Chiefs defense can slow down Lamar in this game, because he might have a worse game than Mahomes. but I think that he might win just because. Well, I'm predicting them to win just because I feel like I just think that they're going to run the ball very well this week. I
see that too. The Chiefs' run defense is very suspect. Like, it's just not good. And I agree the Ravens have the better overall team. I just think, again, I've always said this, a better quarterback can overcome that. And I think the gap between Mahomes and Lamar is just huge. I think if I was starting out my team, I would take this. Like, he is – Jack, we were talking about this earlier, right? Right before the episode. You said Mahomes was the most talented offensive player you've seen in real time. Hard to not agree with that.
He might be the most – I think you could argue he's the most talented of all time.
Already.
And it's crazy because, and we got to, show a little bit with these baseball backgrounds. I just think it's crazy. Kyler, Russell Wilson, and Patrick Mahomes, their ability to slide and avoid hits, I think is very underrated, and I think people should notice that more. Right. Because again, I always love to watch how quarterbacks will do it in different downs, how they play. So that's another thing that I thought was really, really good to see from Patrick Mahomes, because not many people saw it. When I saw him pick 10th overall, I was like, who? I wasn't, he didn't flash off. I knew about Trubisky, which is weird, even though he was from UNC. Mahomes was from Texas Tech, right?
Texas Tech always has good quarterback numbers. You just saw Alan Bowman today put up 500 something yards.
Yeah, it's a good, it's an okay program, right? Same with UNC, but I knew Trubisky was kind of the number one going. And then Deshaun Watson, everyone knew about him. Clemson champion, right? That play at the end of Renfro was one of the best college plays I think I've seen. So, everyone knew about it. And then I see this dude, just tear it up. But I will say this, and I don't think we had the podcast at the time, but I was telling people I can't put him at 1 until he's won a Super Bowl.
No, I think we did. Yeah. Because me and Sugar had him as number 1.
Yeah, and I didn't. I think I had Russ at 1 at the time. So I told people I just I couldn't have it, and that's when he overtook him. So please don't think I'm a Russ hater. I had him at 1 at the time, but I just think my homeboy's overtaken him. But do you guys want to maybe start off with what is the thing that could change this game? What is the X
key
factor?
To the game? Yeah.
Yeah, key to the game or X factors.
Key to the game for the Chiefs is at least slow down one aspect of the game. I think you slow down either their offensive production or you slow down, their defensive strength. If you can break one of their parts open, because I think they're the most solid team in the league. They don't have really a hole on their roster, and they don't have a hole in their game plan most weeks. If you can find something to slow down their team, then they're a little bit more, vulnerable than they are normally. For the Ravens, I think you have to establish the running game early. And you have to, put them on their heels when you're running it, and then you'll be able to throw it. And I think that's kind of when you open the game up.
I agree with Jack's point about the Chiefs. I think that's probably my key for the game of the Chiefs. But for the Ravens, I think finding that balance and keeping it throughout the entire game. Because one of the main things that stood out to me watching the Chiefs-Chargers game was that this Chiefs team cannot tackle. And it was really you could see it throughout the highlights that they really struggled with taking down the Chargers ball carriers. And I saw a tweet. Yeah, and I saw a tweet. It said the Chiefs have missed 29 tackles this season. The only team with more are the Jets with 40. 40 missed tackles in 2 games. I know this is a Chiefs-Ravens episode, but it's not a cold, hard truth episode without Jet slander. So
40,
here's the Jet
bro.
slander for the episode.
For NFL fans, just think about 40 missed tackle in 2 games. Bro.
But, you got to take – I think that Ravens, you got to take advantage of that. I think you got to find success both on the ground, and then you got to find it through the air against the Chiefs. And that balance is really going to be the key to this team's success, not only on Monday night, but going forward through the rest of the season as well. So that's
there aren't very many harder to tackle players than Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, it's a tough matchup. Mm-hmm.
I'm really surprised you guys didn't mention. I think this is the biggest key, and I don't think it's time of possession.
Yeah,
that's the biggest key here, because for the Chiefs, you got to run the ball and you got to have long drives. Again, what we saw against Houston, long surgical drives. Don't get yourself in these quick short drives that we saw against LA, especially in the first half. So it needs to be these 16 plays, 13 to 16 play drives. We need to see CEH get a lot more carries. I'm expecting at least 20. He didn't have that good of a game against LA. I need more than – I can't remember what he had. I think he had 13 or something like that. But I need more carries from CEH. 25 is a good number, maybe even more. Or maybe more from the total running back group, whatever it is. That's one. And for the Ravens, right, time of possession as well. I'm not giving my homeboy the ball back with the final 2 minutes. No way.
Yeah, you don't do that.
If I'm the Ravens,
you don't do that.
No way would I want to do that. We saw it twice against the Chargers. Twice where they had to, right? Where the Chiefs had to score in the fourth quarter to tie it. And then in overtime, right? They handled it perfectly. So, right, the Chargers on 4th and 1 made the mistake. I was harping on it. I thought they should have gone for it. It was Herbert's first game, right? Again, a lot of X factors in that game. They should have gone for it there, and they made the mistake of giving it back to the Chiefs, and they made them pay. So, if I'm the Ravens, no way do I give the ball back to Patrick Mahomes. Fourth quarter, 2 minutes left. No way. And I want the ball in my hands if I'm the Baltimore. And then with the Chiefs, again, you gotta control the clock for the entire game, because that keeps, Lamar Jackson off the field, because he can score quick too. As much as the Chiefs can, Lamar Jackson is just and they also run the Ravens also run the clock a lot through running, just naturally, right? The play clock will always continue. It makes the game a lot quicker. You see that in fourth quarter, especially with teams up. They just run the ball. So the Chiefs have got to score slower than what they normally do. So I'm expecting, 6-yard runs. And that's basically my key game. But I wanted to shout out maybe an X factor, if you guys would have that too.
One thing before we get there. Whichever team wins on 3rd and 4th down is going to win this game.
Yeah.
It's going to take aggressive calls from both teams. You're going to see that. They're going to be aggressive on 3rd and 4th down. I believe that in week 1, the announcers were talking about how the Texans were punting from like fourth and short-ish on their own, like 48. They're like, you can't do that against the Chiefs.
I don't think they want to, make the mistake of the fake punt last time.
That's true. But you can't do that against either team. I mean, both of these teams, it's going to take 3rd and 4th down conversions. It's going to take aggressive calls. You cannot be conservative on those late downs. And whichever team wins on late downs is going to win this football game.
We're going to see a lot of 4th downs here. I think we are. And to add off, to give maybe an X factor for the game, you guys, Hollywood Brown for the Ravens. I don't know. Something's just calling out to me. I think he's going to have a good game.
So is X factor something you think is going to stand out, or something that needs to play well for their team to win?
A bit of both. I just think if Hollywood Brown takes the top off this defense, the Ravens could really break this game open. If you give Lamar Jackson the ability to run and throw the ball downfield, it just doesn't bode well for the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think my homeboy can do enough. And I'm probably one of the biggest my homeboy fans in the entire NFL community. So I think Hollywood Brown's got to have a good game here for this Ravens team to maybe even break this game open. If you guys want to give a player, or maybe like Jack gave the conversions.
I'm gonna give a position group. I'm gonna say the Chiefs D-line, because look, the Ravens offensive line, there's some concern there, because against the Texans they allowed 4 sacks, 3 passes deflected, 5 QB hits.
Yeah, and the Chiefs got 4 sacks against Watson week 1.
Mm-hmm. And the offensive line, it's been a bit concerning through these first 2 weeks. Tyre Phillips, their rookie right guard, he had a pretty rough day. And I know he's a rookie. The game is obviously moving extremely fast for all rookies, but especially along the offensive line. And you're also filling the shoes of Marshall Yanda, so that's
I said that would be
that's never easy to do. And I haven't really been impressed with Orlando Brown in pass pro so far either. He was playing on Watt last week, but look, you got Chris Jones on the horizon this week. I think there's concern to be had there as well. But I think this Ravens offensive line as a whole, I think the Chiefs D-line needs to take advantage of that. So I'd say keep an eye on the Chiefs D-line, because if they can bring the pressure, hey, maybe they can get a sack or two on Jackson. Maybe they could shift the game.
Yeah, and before we get quickly to score predictions, my X factor is for the other team that I'm not picking. It's Tyrann Mathieu. The Chiefs do not have a lot in the secondary, and if their defensive line and linebackers aren't playing well against the run, Tyrann Mathieu needs to step up. He needs to step up in both facets of the game. And it's just, if he doesn't step up, I feel like the Chiefs are going to lose. I think that he needs to play that linebacker role, both when defending the pass and defending the run. And he needs to step up for them to win this game. But kind of getting onto my score predictions, I thought about this a lot, actually. And I really wasn't sure this could be a low scoring game if the defenses play well, but I'm not counting against these two offenses. I'm going to say the Ravens win it 34-31 in the most exciting game we've had so far this year.
Sure, Gary, you want to go? I want to go last.
Sure. This is the most difficult game for me to predict this year, because on one hand, the Ravens need this win. I'd say they need this win more than the Chiefs, because the Chiefs have already proven they can beat Baltimore twice. On the other hand, the Chiefs are just absolutely freaking loaded on offense. And this Ravens defense, it's been stout so far, but I wouldn't say they've been tested. I wouldn't say they've been playing against anyone near Mahomes in this Chiefs offense. So I see this being a high-scoring contest. I think the Ravens get something late. I'm going to say – this is so tough. I'll say 33-29 Ravens.
Bro, oh, man. I have my pick, like, next time. I had 33-31. I thought about it, too. I thought it was going to be 30-31, game-winning field goal. And I am picking the Kansas City Chiefs. And you know what? I didn't say this much in the episode, but I did say it in our picks. My homeboy. My homeboy. That's the reason. And a little bit of Harrison Butker, too. I thought it looked good. But again, just before I kind of ran out why I'm picking Orlando Brown has 2 sacks allowed, which is second most in the NFL. So that was a quick point I wanted to throw out there.
He's a run defender. He's just perfect for their scheme. He's overrated.
Yeah, Orlando Brown is like a pass protector, right?
Yeah,
what you were trying to say.
In general,
yeah.
I think.
So, but again, I just think I think it comes down to really the last seconds. I think Mahomes again. I think the Ravens will give it back to him in the final few minutes, and I think Mahomes will lead him down to get that game-winning field goal. All right, guys. To wrap this episode up, all 3 of us had a lot of fun with this. I think it was a little bit different, and we're definitely going to do more of these for the marquee matchups down the road. The Chiefs will probably be mentioned again. But again, check out all our socials down below. We just hit 400 on Instagram, so thank you guys so much for that. Road to 500 is on the way, and obviously Road to 300 is still going for our YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for all the support, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.